One thing the ACC has in common with the Big Ten and the SEC, a linear network. The Big 12 does not have a linear network. Why doesn't the Big 12 have its own linear network? I'm going to discuss and present a few slides for you to give you a better idea and to kind of explain the rationale, logic, some would say illogic, but rationale of why the Big 12 does not have its own linear network. The Big 12 has not launched its own linear network because member schools and the conference chose a partner-driven rights model that gives wider immediate distribution, lower startup costs, lower startup risk, and bigger guaranteed revenue from ESPN and Fox, and sub-licenses rather than the high cost, high control route of a conference-owned channel. Let me pause right there and say this. All this info I'm about to read and say to you, mention to you, the Houston Roundball Review YouTube members already know, already received. Once again, the Houston Roundball Review YouTube members already know this info I shared with them days ago. Early access to content that I provide. Early access. That's what you get when you become a Houston Roundball Review YouTube member. The slide info I'm going to share with you today on the takeover is an example of what I provide the YouTube members. It's a rare example of my members only content sharing it publicly. 95% of the time, my YouTube members get that info and I don't share it with the public. So keep that in mind. So don't get comfortable and say, I'm just going to wait for it to go public. No, I'm just sharing with you to give you an idea of what the Houston Roundball Review YouTube members receive, as well as giving you a chance to become a member so you can receive your own free large pizza from Star Pizza. Back to the info. Why the Big 12 chose partners instead of its own linear network. One reason, guaranteed money and lower risk. The Big 12's deals with ESPN and Fox provide predictable revenue streams and let the conference avoid the massive capital and distribution risk of launching a new linear channel. I want to read that again. Avoid the massive capital and distribution risk of launching a new linear channel. The member schools would have to help split that, share the cost of a new linear channel. Distribution, carriage fees, negotiations, all that would be part of it. Creating a standalone linear network requires paying cable providers to carry it. As viewership habits shift, distributors are highly reluctant to pay for niche sports networks, making the model financially risky. Next, existing school networks and fragmentation. Texas already had the Longhorn Network, which complicated a unified conference channel and helped push the league toward sublicensing and partner deals rather than a single network. Third, sublicensing strategy to gain linear exposure. The Big 12 has actively sublicensed games to CBS, TNT/TBS, and Peacock to move content off streaming-only platforms and onto linear channels, achieving many of the exposure benefits without owning a network. Next, strategic flexibility for future rights cycles. Conference leadership has emphasized, quote-unquote, optionality heading into the 2030 rights marketplace. Partnering now and building relationships with multiple broadcasters can improve leverage later. The Big 12's media strategy. Instead of a single network, the Big 12 relies on a multi-partner media rights deal, which includes linear TV. The conference broadcasts its marquee football and basketball games, more than usual, men's basketball games, across major national television networks, including ABC, ESPN, Fox, CBS, and TNT. Streaming. Hundreds of additional conference sports events are exclusively broadcast on the ESPN Plus platform. Exposure. This omni-channel approach allows the Big 12 to distribute its games to broader, established audiences rather than trying to force fans to subscribe to an entirely new standalone cable channel. Risks and trade-offs to note. First, loss of long-term upside. A conference network can generate larger long-term profits if carriage and subscriber fees succeed. But that requires heavy upfront investment and time. Brand dilution versus reach. Partnering spreads Big 12 games across multiple networks, good for reach, but reduces a single unified conference brand presence. Recommendation. If the Big 12 wants immediate national reach and stable revenue, the partner/sublicense model is sensible. If members prioritize and negotiate carriage, a politically and financially difficult path given existing school networks and contracts, now in table form, everything I just said to you. 5 attributes: revenue control, upfront cost, distribution reach, brand control, and risk. Revenue control. Conference-owned network, high potential, depends on the carriage deals. Revenue control under the partnered rights model. Guaranteed payouts from ESPN and Fox. Sublicensing adds revenue. Upfront cost. Very high under the conference-owned network, including the launch and operating costs. Low upfront costs for the conference with the partnered rights model because the networks bear the costs. Distribution reach. Limited at start under the conference-owned network. Needs carriage deals. Negotiating. Got to pay for this stuff, and you got to pay the cable companies to carry your network. The partnered rights model, the reach, immediate broad reach via ESPN and Fox, and the sub-licenses. Brand control. Has full editorial and scheduling control under the conference-owned network theme. However, in contrast, limited brand control under the partnered rights model because the networks decide many of the broadcast windows. Lastly, the risk. High financial and carriage risk with the conference-owned network. Lower financial risk and less upside but stable with the partnered rights model. What do you think? What do you think the Big 12, should the Big 12, and I think the ship has sailed with it. I don't think there's any high likelihood of a Big 12 linear network. I think the Big 12 is placing eggs in its basket regarding looking in the future and partnering with TNT, Turner Sports, Paramount, getting more Big 12 games and content under broadcast on those platforms rather than spending money to create its own linear network, negotiating carriage deals, etc., all those things. But what do you think? Do you have a problem with having Big 12 men's basketball games on ESPN, Fox, NBC, Peacock, TNT, TBS, Fox, FS1? You want it all in one spot? Money won't be the same. ACC Network started slowly, had to negotiate the carriage rights deals and distribution, and is finally beginning to pay off, and has helped explain why the ACC revenue gap between the ACC and the Big 12 has increased. And the ACC is paying its member schools more per school than the Big 12 is paying its member schools.